Okay, so this is the second Crown Vic I've had to do this to. Loads of fun. So, transmission shift cable. It's not all that difficult. I mean, there's a lot of clips, you know, that bolt it to the frame rail. They clip it to the frame rail so that it's out of the way of exhaust, moving parts, steering rack, you know, whatever else. So, where it let go is a typical spot right at the transmission. You never usually encounter any problems in behind the column, but in any event, I'm just gonna pop this off of here. We have an issue here with the, let's remove it anyway. We'll go ahead and take off the cover to gain access to the steering column area. A little difficult to do the way I have this jacked up. The door won't exactly stay open for me, so 7 mil. Remove the parking brake release. And then there's just clips up top. Just give them a gentle pry. They'll pop out. Okay. There we go. So set that off to the side. Skid plate here, this bracket I should really say, that holds the it looks like a 10 mil or an 8 mil maybe even, but we'll remove that so we can gain access into the back here. It's not hard to do with trying to force the door open here. Alright, so 8 mil, loosen this off, get this out of our way here. Should be one at the bottom. Right in there. Alright, so it looks daunting. You know, you got this clip here, runs up, in along, over the steering column assembly, and then out through the firewall, which should be somewhere right around here. Kind of a tight spot. Looks like it might have been monkeyed with before. We got clips just, you know, dangling around just for the ride. So the cable might have been replaced before by, I don't know, some garage that didn't really care to do the job properly. But anyway, it's regardless of the point. So anyway, on this side here, we can see that where the cable actually connects, it's attached to a ball stud. The camera can get in there. Anyway, this is probably the best angle I can get at. Just go ahead and pop it off. 9 times out of 10, you might need to use a little pry bar of sorts. Sometimes you can get lucky just by pulling it. Maybe not. It's moving, but anyway, it'll pop off that ball stud there. And then these two, I'll need to grab some tools here for this, but this will slide right off of that. And you'll have to do the same. There's a couple other clips beneath the car in the engine bay that'll also have to be unhooked. Okay, so all I have here is a small little pry bar. Just gonna try and ever so gently, whoops, pop it off, just like so. Okay, so the top, this clip here is a little difficult, especially to demonstrate single-handedly here. You need 2 screwdrivers. All right, so for example, you bend this tab back towards you ever so lightly, while you take another screwdriver at the same time and just push towards the right-hand side of the vehicle, towards like the heater controls, and do that same top and bottom, and it will pass right through. You can see where the clip actually rests inside these notches here. Now the thing is a lot of transmission cables, they don't come with new clips. Some of them do, some of them don't. So what you're going to want to do is pop that off of there and save them, because we're not totally sure if the new cable will have it yet, right? So we got to try and save our parts from our old cable. Some aftermarket ones do not come with replacement clips. That one went flying and I'm not sure where it went. I better find it before we lose that. Oh, there it is there. So yeah, very straightforward, right? Kind of hard to do this with the car parked the way it is. So anyway, yeah, that's all there is to that. Then like I say, the cable fishes over top of the steering column and then underneath the vehicle. Grab the trouble light so we can all see what's going on down there. There. Okay. So underneath the vehicle, what we got going on, here's the cable itself. So as we can see, the issue here is this here. There's a metal tang, it's actually an adjuster. And what happens is it can become corroded and it'll just simply break. The cable itself, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the cable. It's right here. So if you really wanted to get creative, you could probably repair it, but it's not really worth it. I think I paid 70 bucks Canadian for this new cable. So right now I have this all the way jammed all the way to the back. It's in park. So everything, reverse, neutral, drive, you know, you're gonna wanna go forward with that. Normally what'll happen is it'll get stuck in either neutral or reverse when it decides to brake. That's when things are starting to push, when you're shifting the column into park or whatever gear. What happened with my Silver Crown Vic is it actually let go while I was shifting into reverse from drive, and that's exactly what happened here with this one. The vehicle was operated by my mother and she went to put it in park, and sure enough it just let go. It was pushing against this lever for the transmission to go into park. Well, she managed to get the column into park, of course, but the transmission wasn't actually in park. So what had happened, it was in reverse, she shut it off, and next thing you know, she goes to start it the next day. It's not going to start because of the neutral safety switch is actually inside the transmission. So when it let go, with it being stuck in reverse, she couldn't get the car to go. She couldn't get the engine started whatsoever. So with that being said, I had to ended up crawling under the car, shifting it into park while I got her to sit in the driver's seat with her foot firmly applied again on the service brake, while I shifted it into what gear I needed to do to get it in here. So there is that. So normally what will happen with these is you might notice that there's a lot of slop as you're shifting. So when you're going from, you know, park to neutral or whatever, you're shifting through your gears, you might notice that, you know, hey, the gear shifter feels funny. If that be the case, you might want to start ordering a new shifter cable right away, because what'll end up happening is it will let go. This one here didn't give any warning whatsoever. I actually drove the car the day that it actually broke down and there was no warning whatsoever. But it is known with these particular vehicles for them to go. So, and if you don't really know much about them or crawling underneath the vehicle to shift it into a particular gear, or if you don't have a second person with you to actually safely do this, then 9 times out of 10 it will end up on the back of a tow truck because of it. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I might remove this air breather box just for clarity purposes so we can all kind of see what we're doing here. Like I say, it's a tight spot with it in there. So what I might go ahead and do is I'm gonna unbolt this piping here for the air breather box, the intake, and we're gonna just get this out of our way here. It'll actually free up a lot of space so we can actually see what we're doing. Okay, so I moved the air breather out of the way. So now we have lots of room here for clarity purposes. As we can kind of tell, it's very dark in here. Beneath this, on the other side of this braided hose, you can see that the cable, the shift cable is right in there. It is actually, in fact, it has a foam protector on the end there, about halfway up, to prevent vibrations from wearing the cable. It's attached to the frame rail. There should be a clip there, does a loop-de-loop and goes into the transmission. So anyway, there should be a clip on the frame rail itself to prevent this intermediate steering shaft from coming into contact with the cable and wearing it out. So there should be a clip also down at the bottom next to the transmission, which also holds the cable in place from, you know, moving around. So we'll go ahead and crawl underneath the vehicle. There may be another clip inside here on the column too, I can't remember now. But after that, we'll fish it through the steering column. All right, so if you're a one-man show like this, with this kind of setup, no hoist, no lift, and you're doing it on the floor, let's just take a minute and talk about safety, especially if you're alone doing this kind of stuff. Chalk your tires in case the vehicle does happen to roll. Right now the vehicle is in park, but if you are under there at the transmission shifter mechanism on the transmission, if you accidentally shift it into reverse, or let's just say any particular range position, the vehicle could roll. So what I got going on here is we got jacks, we got blocking, we got actually overkill on blocking, and like I say, the wheels are securely chalked. The park brake is securely set as tight as you can get it. Use your hand and push on it. Make sure it's good and tight. Parking brake, if it goes down that far, that's usually a telltale sign it needs adjustment, but that's a job for another day. It does hold the vehicle good enough. So okay, so I got a various little bits of tools here. Oh. Okay, so there it is there. We need to get that bolt off, and then once we got the new cable in, we are going to have to deal with adjustments. As I said previously, the transmission neutral safety switch is actually inside the transmission. On the older Chevs, especially the ones that I'm used to, it's typically in the column. So we'll have to adjust the cable to make sure that it will start in every position except reverse or drive or anything like that. So with that being said, we'll have to, like I say, make sure our adjustments are good. So appears to be an 18 mil. I'll just try and get that on there. Like I say, if you're down here doing this yourself and you have nobody around, you know, keep their foot on the service brake. Just be particularly careful. And if you just brought the vehicle in from outside, make sure that the exhaust is, see, we just shifted it into out of park. So you definitely want to be mindful of that. But in any event, we got to get that bolt out. Might be easier to access it from the front end of the vehicle if you are laying on the ground with this. And then over here, position the light, we do have a clip here as well. And then there's that one about the frame that I was talking about earlier. As we can tell, there's one right there, right in there, so that we got to undo that, and then we'll lift it out underneath the engine bay just to clear everything. But yeah, we want to make sure that this doesn't get out of park. Now another thing too, what you could do, take a pry bar. You might have to do this because this bolt looks corroded. Actually, what I might do is I'll go ahead and spray that down with some fluid film and let it soak for a few minutes before I tackle that. But you could take a screwdriver and just jam this. See, there's a little notch here. You could take a pry bar and just jam that in there to prevent it from moving. Don't put too much pressure on it, because I mean, you don't want to break that, right? It moves around, so you want to be careful on what you're prying against. You may notice that you'll have better luck if you shift it out of park. And if you have more room to clear the exhaust, you might have to shift it back into park in order to get your ratchet off the vehicle. There we go. Okay. Oops. Of course, that's seized in there. But yeah, this is what happens. Like I say, 9 times out of 10, actually even 10 times out of 10, it's not the cable itself that's the problem. It is in fact this. See? This is where you would typically make adjustments so that you know, your gear shift indicator and your neutral safety switch are actually in perfect alignment, right? But 9 times out of 10, this tiny little piece of steel will in fact become rusted and corroded. Like, there's really nothing to it, and it'll just break off. Like, I've even heard of these particular shift cables letting go in the southern area where there is no salt. Like, I mean, it just gets corroded and it weakens over time, you know, going through all the gears, the range positions, and next thing you know, it's broke. Okay, so same general idea with this clip here. That's next to the bell housing. 2 screwdrivers, same thing, except this time you're going to want to pry up so that it does let go out of the little notches there, and then, you know, cable just dangle like that. And then we got another one here. Where are we? Right there next to the catalytic converter. So then we're going to want to do the same thing with that one and get it out of the way. It looks like it's just attached to like a hanger of some sort. But anyway, yeah, we're going to want to get that guy out of there too. Okay, so this clip up in here, it's a little different. It's kind of like a circular little clamp that has like teeth in it, which just clip together. You might want to be careful with this one. It's plastic. See what I mean? Just pry it open enough to get the cable to fish through, and then that should be it. There might be one in the engine bay. We'll take a look in a moment. Ooh, there's some water in there somewhere. That's always nice. Cold, salty water. All right, and we'll go ahead up to the top end of the vehicle and we'll look up there. All right, up above the engine bay now. I'm just gonna fish this up through, get it in a straight line. A lot of undercoating in here. I just gotta be mindful that it might get stuck in between the steering intermediate shaft. There's that. Now you want to talk about tricky spots. Way in here, here's the cable, if you can see it. Probably not. I am jammed in here. You need to be pretty well a contortionist. So anyway, here's the cable. Okay, well, in along near the brake pedal, there is another clip hiding away up in here. It's another one of those open ones where you just take a screwdriver and you pry it, and then that should be it for that. Now, while I'm jammed in here, and probably no way of me ever getting out of here, there's this grommet. Okay, you'll need to use a screwdriver and gently pry against the grommet to kind of loosen it off. There's a groove inside the grommet, right, which then sits inside the firewall. All right, so I think this was the trickiest part. Well, maybe not literally, but anyway. The cable, of course, is going to want to slide through the grommet, right? So, but anyway, we got it. So we just wanted to make sure we're not going to damage any vacuum hoses. There's a lot of vacuum hoses here for the heater. Like the blend door and all that is right here, right? So you kind of want to just be mindful that you're not pulling any of this apart, or, you know, I know a lot of these Crown Vics, if there's an issue with vacuum, it automatically default to defrost. So you just want to be mindful of that. Make sure you're not causing any damage. There we go. Okay, so there's the cable. All right, so you can just gently feed it through the car. You can feed it any way you want, really. I mean, you can feed it all the way through here, through the cabin, or you can feed it outside. Probably would be better feeding it this way, mainly because you're never going to get the grommet back through the hole unless you take the grommet all the way off. Now see, this was my bad. I forgot to take this off. There's another clip here, so that's why I was having difficulty feeding it through the firewall. Lesson learned there. And there we go. All right, so that's the unit there. The new cable should come with all this stuff. So there's the grommet where the firewall goes in. Another one of those. And then that, right? So I took all the clips off. So that's all there is to it. I gotta go downtown now and go get the new cable. All right, so here it is. I just went and got it. Actually, it seemed to have ended up at my local Ford store. Anyhow, so this is the new unit. There's the grommet there. So yeah, you'll need those clips off your old one. This is actually a genuine Ford cable. I was anticipating a aftermarket one, but anyhow, that don't matter. That's good. That's what we want. So anyhow, this is the new one. Yeah, so anyway, when we go to install it, what I'll do is I'll put some anti-seize on this. Even though I am in the rust belt, but you know, the car, like I say, doesn't exceed speeds of 30 miles an hour. We'll just put something on there just to, you know, kind of keep it from, you know, happening again, or at least not in the near future. So yeah, that's it in all its glory. That's at the column end, and this is at the transmission end. Fairly straightforward. So yeah, we'll finish up our little break here, and then we'll get started on putting that back in. All right, feeding it back through the car. I'm gonna go underneath the brake booster. I don't want to put too much of a bend in this. I'm just gonna pull it back a little bit. Loads of fun. All right, the grommet is there now, so that's as far as we can go with that. Yep, that's pretty well that's there. So, go ahead and climb underneath the vehicle and get that situated the way we need it to. We're gonna need this. This one goes underneath the car. All right, so here's something that I forgot. The cable does come with certain clips. Like these circular ones that I had mentioned. So that being said, this guy here can be removed, and this one here has it says like there's brand new ones there, so this can come here. Okay, so just like so, all I did was pull this back. It's about there. Okay, we'll have to push our new clip down, obviously, because it's got to go right in there. So I'll try and reach for that clip. Maybe install it. All right. Okay, so just like that. For that, I'll bring this little guy down a little. Maybe easier said than done. Just give him a little pull. Like so. More. Alright. A little bit more yet. There we go. Alright, so straightforward. We're just gonna put the old one on, slide it over the grooves. And snap him into place. Just like so. And let's see if we can get the ball stud on. Done. There we go. Okay, so that's all connected. Now for the adjustments. After the adjustments are made, we'll clean up the mess we made. Obviously we got the steering column a little dirty. Restore this. This popped out. I don't know if it will or not. It's pretty damaged. Maybe it did go. It's all wore out. Anyway. Alright, so we'll crawl underneath the vehicle and we'll attach our bolt. Like I say, we got to make adjustments to it. We're not ready just simply drive it yet, but you know, we'll go ahead and make adjustments. As we can see, we got everything all tied up nice and neat. This vacuum line has a connector. I don't know where exactly it goes, but it doesn't seem to want to go anywhere. There's no other place for it, so just leave him be. Alrighty. I'm gonna crawl underneath the vehicle and we'll inspect our work and attach the transmission. Alright, so just taking a quick look, making sure that it's not binding on anything. There is a holder also. It'll keep the cable away from the steering shaft. As we can see, there's the shaft there and the cable. So we definitely want to make sure that it is all tucked in away from any hazards. We got a foam insert there to protect it from rubbing against the frame rail. So forth. But anyway, yeah, so we'll go ahead and reinstall the nut. Like I say, we'll have to make a few adjustments. Technically, we will have to shift the transmission into drive. I do believe was one of the service procedures for this, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, we'll just get this connected here, double check our work before we get into that. All right, just so looking over our work here, as you can see, there's the cable there. Just want to make sure it's not coming anywhere near contact with the intermediate steering shaft, which it's not. I'm gonna go ahead and apply some anti-seize. Don't really need to do this. I'm in the rust belt area, right? So if I need to get any of this unbolted again, at least it'll be somewhat simple. And that, in the rust belt area, even though this car isn't exposed to a lot of salt, I just want to take the precaution, really. So we have the bolt and the nut here. Go ahead and install it. All right, so for adjustment, right now the gear shifter lever is in drive. It only clicked twice. There we go, it's in neutral. So, try and tighten this. First we gotta get it into drive. So, I'll back this off. Click it one more over, so now it's in drive. I'm gonna pull the cable back just a tad. Like so. We'll tighten it down. Now, may take a couple of tries with this. Might actually need to get a wrench now at this point. I can't get the purchase on that. I'll strip it. So, but yeah. Anyway, then try that. Get it tightened down. Then after that's said and done, what we'll do is we'll test our park neutral safety switch. 9 times out of 10, what usually happens with maladjusted transmission shift cables on these is that it'll be in park. It might not be fully in park, but it's enough to keep the parking pile locked so that the car doesn't roll, but the safety switch isn't far enough in. So sometimes what you have to do is take the gear shift, push up on it while you're turning the key in order to get the engine to start, or just simply shove it into neutral. I've had that problem with me with these vehicles before, where usually you'll need to do another quick little adjustment and just to get it right. So at this stage, you know, you can't put everything back together like I just did. But for adjustment, you might have to crawl underneath the vehicle a couple times. Try it, put it in reverse, make sure it goes in, try neutral, drive, make sure all that works. And then once you know that that is fine, put it in park, try your neutral safety switch, see if it'll actually start in park. And if it doesn't, well then you'll have to just make a few adjustments. Okay, so let's give it a quick little dry run here. Like I say, it's in drive, neutral, reverse, park. Reverse, neutral, drive, 2, 1. Now with the display going dead, I think my battery might be dead. Okay, so sitting inside the car, just testing it out here. So that's drive, obviously. Reverse, it feels nice and smooth, the shifting through the gears. Clearly moving backwards. Go and put it in park. Test it on a hill to make sure it actually does lock into park. So for example, as we can tell, we're on a bit of a grade. There's park. There's reverse. So everything feels good and smooth. There's park, yep, so it locked in. Neutral drive, second, first. There's neutral, reverse, park once again, and it locked in. Yeah, so that's pretty well all there is to it. New cable. Everything seems to be working a-okay with that. So we can seal the deal with this and call it a day. For the first while, I'd probably get in the habit of just setting the park brake just in case, because I mean, you go to walk out of the car and I mean, what if it isn't totally in park? Like when the cable broke, for example, it was in reverse and it wasn't in park, but thankfully it's level ground over there where the car is usually parked. So no harm, no foul, right? But you know, if it does start to roll on you, you know, there's nothing going to stop it after you leave the car. It'll be a stationary object, like another parked car, and that might land you in some trouble if that were to happen. So I don't know, maybe just for the first little while, just get in the habit and just setting the park brake, just until you feel confident that it is actually working the way it's supposed to. But yeah, I think we're okay here with this. So fairly straightforward repair on a 2008 Crown Victoria.